April 19th, 1995. 9:02 a.m. Downtown Oklahoma City is just another weekday morning. People grabbing coffee, federal employees clocking in, parents dropping kids off at daycare. No one notices the yellow Ryder truck parked calmly outside the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. And that's exactly the point. Before we go any further, if you're into deep, psychological true crime stories that peel back the mask of normal, hit like and subscribe. These cases only get darker from here. At the center of this story is Timothy McVeigh. On the surface, McVeigh didn't look like a monster. He wasn't loud. He wasn't chaotic. He didn't stand out. To most people, he was forgettable, quiet, reserved, almost invisible. The kind of guy you'd pass in a grocery store and never remember 5 seconds later. McVeigh grew up in upstate New York, raised in a working-class family. He struggled socially, didn't have many close friends, and often felt misunderstood. But nothing about his early life screamed future domestic terrorist. He served in the U.S. Army, trained as a soldier, and for a while, that structure gave him purpose, discipline, identity, direction. After leaving the military, though, something shifted. McVeigh became increasingly isolated, drifting from job to job, spending long hours alone. He felt betrayed by the government, by society, by a system he believed had turned its back on people like him. While others moved on with their lives, McVeigh stayed stuck, replaying grievances in his head, convincing himself that he was awake while everyone else was blind. Publicly, he kept things surface level. Polite. Soft-spoken. He sold guns at shows, chatted casually with strangers, and blended into crowds without effort. No criminal record that raised alarms. No obvious red flags demanding intervention. But privately, his worldview was hardening. He obsessed over ideas of government overreach and personal freedom. He consumed extremist literature and fixated on past events that, in his mind, proved the government was the enemy. One incident in particular, an armed standoff years earlier, became a turning point, planting a seed that would grow into something far more dangerous. Still, no one around him connected the dots. To the outside world, Timothy McVeigh was just another disillusioned veteran trying to find his place after service. Yet beneath that calm exterior, resentment was fermenting, focused, deliberate, and patient. And the most terrifying part? He didn't see himself as a villain. He believed he was right. As McVeigh's isolation deepened, his thoughts stopped being passive. They became structured, focused, almost disciplined. He wasn't spiraling, he was narrowing in. He began to see the world in binaries: freedom versus tyranny, insiders versus enemies. Every news story felt personal, like proof his anger was justified. The more powerless he felt in life, the more obsessed he became with control. Not influence. Control. This is where belief quietly turns into obsession. McVeigh didn't just complain, he studied. He memorized dates, buildings, symbols. He convinced himself violence wasn't immoral if it served a greater purpose. In his mind, extreme action wasn't cruelty. It was communication. If you're still watching, drop a comment. Do you think people like this are born dangerous or created over time? His routines became rigid. Wake up. Read. Think. Plan. He revisited extremist texts until ideas felt like facts. There was no opposing voice anymore, no one close enough to notice how far he'd gone. What made this phase especially dangerous was how calm he was. No panic. No hesitation. Just certainty. Once doubt disappears, escalation becomes easy. Preparation followed naturally. He researched materials, learned from manuals, experiments, failures. Each step forward made turning back feel impossible. The plan stopped being abstract and began to feel inevitable, as if events were already in motion and he was simply following through. To the outside world, nothing had changed. But internally, McVeigh had crossed a line. The decision was already made. The morning unfolds quietly, too quietly for what's about to happen. At 9:02 a.m., the explosion tears through the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Concrete, glass, and steel turn airborne. Cars flip. Windows shatter blocks away. The shockwave punches through downtown Oklahoma City. Inside, officers vanish in seconds. Survivors later describe the same moment. Silence, then screams. Dust so thick it felt solid. Floors collapsing where ceilings had been. Many didn't even realize a bomb had gone off. Children in the daycare center are among the victims. First responders arrive to something unreal: a building partially gone, people trapped, parents screaming names that never get answered. This wasn't chaos. It was calculation. As the city descends into fear, no one knows if more attacks are coming. Federal buildings across the country evacuate. The word terrorism hangs heavy, but without answers. Then a small detail changes everything. A state trooper stops a man driving without a license plate. Routine. Calm. Polite. That man is Timothy McVeigh. At first, the arrest seems unrelated. But as debris is sifted, pieces line up. A yellow Ryder truck. A rental agreement. Witness timelines. Forensic evidence pointing in one direction. McVeigh believed he had outsmarted the system. But small miscalculations became fatal mistakes. This wasn't a vast conspiracy. It was one man, driven by ideology, willing to destroy lives to prove a point. The trial reveals something chilling. McVeigh shows no regret. To him, the bombing wasn't murder, it was retaliation. The verdict is inevitable. Guilty. Death sentence. The bombing changes America forever. Security tightens. Domestic terrorism becomes a national focus. And the lesson lingers. The most dangerous threats aren't always loud. Sometimes they're quiet. Until they're not.